Somewhere on the cold northern edge of the Roman Empire, nearly 2,000 years ago, a tired man sat down by lamplight and wrote a few lines to himself. He was the most powerful man alive. There was a war going on outside his tent. He had been away from home for years, and he was not young anymore. He wrote in Greek, which was not the language he spoke at home. He gave the pages no title, and as far as anyone can tell, he never meant for one other person to read them. We have them anyway. 12 small books of private notes written by a Roman emperor to steady himself, which somehow outlived his empire and came down to us almost by accident. Tonight, you're going to hear what he wrote. Not as a lesson. There's nothing here you need to learn or hold on to or do anything about in the morning. Just the quiet company of a man who also lay down at the end of long, heavy days and had to remind himself that it was all right to stop. So let yourself settle now. Find the position you'll sleep in. Let the covers come up over your shoulders. Let your jaw come loose, and let your eyes close whenever they'd like to. You won't need them again tonight. The camp is quiet. The lamp is lit. You're here at Restful Minds, and there is nothing left for you to carry. Let's begin. His name was Marcus Aurelius. He ruled Rome for 19 years, and he spent a great many of them in tents. We know roughly where some of the notes were written, because he left small markings behind. One book ends with a note saying it was written in the country of the Quadi, by a river. Another was written at Carnuntum, a garrison town on the Danube. These were not comfortable places. They were cold, muddy army camps at the far edge of the known world, and he was there because there was a war that would not end. That was the shape of his life for years. Long campaigns, a heavy shadow moving through the empire, a trusted general who turned away from him, and the quiet ache of losing people he loved. And in the middle of all that, late in the evening, he wrote in a notebook, not letters, not speeches, not history, just short notes to himself. A line here, a paragraph there. Reminders, mostly, about how to be a decent and steady person the following day. He never gave the pages a title. Later readers had to invent one for him. In Greek, the name that stuck simply means things to himself. Sit with that for a moment. The most quoted book of practical wisdom in the world was a private notebook. There was no audience, no one to impress, no reason to sound wise, which is exactly why it still works, and it very nearly didn't reach us at all. Nobody published it. Nobody was meant to. After he died, the pages simply existed somewhere. Then they were copied by hand, and copied again by people who had no real idea what they were holding. It came down through the centuries on a very thin thread, lost, found, lost again. It wasn't printed until the 1500s. That's around 1400 years after he set down the pen. So the book you'll hear from tonight is a kind of accident, a private thing that slipped out of a war camp and kept going, quietly, for 18 centuries, until it reached a dark room where someone tired is trying to sleep. I find that lovely. Nothing was arranged. It simply lasted. Most advice is written to be read. You can hear it in the sentences. Someone is being watched and knows it. But Marcus wasn't performing calm for anyone. When he told himself not to lose his temper, it was because he had lost it. When he told himself that a person's opinion of him didn't matter, it was because it had kept him awake. He wasn't writing down what he knew. He was writing down what he kept forgetting. Reading it feels less like being taught and more like standing quietly behind someone's shoulder while they think. The sentences stop and start. He argues with himself. He gets stern, then gentle again. Sometimes he simply writes down a fact about the world and leaves it there, without explaining why it helped. There's one note where he warns himself about power. He tells himself to take care that he isn't stained by the purple, the way cloth takes a dye. Stay simple, he writes. Stay good. Stay plain. Think about who wrote that. A man who could have anything, reminding himself in private not to become someone he wouldn't like. That's not a philosopher showing off. That's a person trying to hold on to himself. And here is the part I find most comforting, and I think you might too. He repeats himself, constantly. 12 books, and the same handful of ideas come around again and again. Don't waste the day. People are difficult, and you knew that before you got out of bed. You can't control what happens, only what you make of it. This will pass, and so will you, and that's all right. Over and over, in slightly different words, year after year. Now, why would a brilliant man, taught by the finest tutors in the empire, write down the same simple lesson 200 times? Because knowing something and living it are two different things. He understood the ideas perfectly. He could have explained them to anyone. And still, the next morning he'd wake up and be short with someone, or lie awake over something he couldn't fix, or waste an afternoon on a worry that never came. So that night he'd pick up his pen and write it down again, not because he was slow, because he was human. There's a particular kind of tiredness in that, and I think you know it. The tiredness of having the answer and still not being able to live it, of knowing perfectly well that the thing you're turning over at midnight will look small by Thursday, and turning it over anyway. He had that too, on a much larger scale, with much more at stake, and no one to tell. So he told the paper. Night after night, in a tent, in the cold, by a small light, the same reminders, in slightly different words, because they kept sliding off. I want you to hold on to that tonight, gently. If you have ever felt like you should be past something by now, that you've read the right things, and had the right conversations, and understood the lesson perfectly well, so why are you still lying here at midnight going over it again? Then here is your answer from the most powerful man in the ancient world. He was still going over it too. At 50, at 55, with an empire to run, he still needed to tell himself one more time that it was all right. Needing to hear something again is not a failure. It's just what it's like to be a person. You don't master this. Nobody masters this. You just keep coming back kindly and reminding yourself, and then you rest, and you get up, and you try again in the morning. That's the whole thing. That's all it ever was. And there's something else worth saying about him before we go on. We tend to picture him as a statue, marble and calm and finished. But every one of those notes was written by a man in a body at the end of a day who was probably cold and certainly tired and who had to get up early. He got headaches. He slept badly. There's a note where he talks himself out of staying under the blankets in the morning, the way anyone does. He wasn't serene. He was practicing. I like him much more for that, because it means the calm in those pages wasn't a gift he was born with. It was something he built, slowly, one plain sentence at a time, on the worst nights of a difficult life, which means it's available. To him, in a war camp. To you, right here, under the covers, tonight. So tonight, that's what we'll do together. We'll go slowly through some of the things he told himself in the dark, the things that steadied a tired man in a cold tent a very long way from home. There's no order to follow. nothing to keep hold of. If your attention drifts off in the middle of a sentence, that's exactly right. He wrote these to be read a little at a time, then set down, and you can set all of it down. The notebook has been waiting 1800 years. It doesn't need anything from you tonight. You're allowed to need reminding. If you read his notebook straight through, one idea comes back more than any other. Nothing stays. He returns to it constantly. Seasons turn. Cities rise and fall quietly into fields. The people everyone was talking about are forgotten within a generation or two. Everything he could see from his tent was on its way somewhere else. Now that could sound bleak. It isn't. He didn't write it to make himself sad. He wrote it to put the weight down, because think about what he was carrying. A war that wouldn't end. An empire that expected him to have every answer. A body that was tired most of the time. And a mind that kept handing him the same problems at night, the way minds do. So he'd remind himself, this is passing. Not this doesn't matter, just this is moving. It arrived, it's here for now, and it's already on its way out. He has one image I keep coming back to. He describes the flow of things as a river. Events come along, and you see them for a moment, and then they're carried on past. Not stopped, not held, carried. I'd like you to try it with whatever came to bed with you tonight, because something did. There's usually something, a conversation that didn't go well, a message you're still composing in your head, something at work, or in the family, or in your own body that you keep checking on like a sore tooth. Whatever it is, you're holding it very still right now. That's what a tired mind does at night. It picks the heavy thing up and holds it steady, and turns it, and looks at it from a new angle, hoping this will be the angle that solves it. But it isn't a solid object. It only feels solid because you're holding it so tightly. And notice what the gripping is actually doing. It feels like effort. It feels like you're getting somewhere. Going over it once more, finding the sentence you should have said, planning the conversation you'll have on Tuesday, but nothing is being built. You've been over this ground already, several times, and the ground hasn't changed. That's the quiet trick a tired mind plays after midnight. It makes rehearsing feel like solving. So you stay up, going in a circle, and in the morning you're no further along, only more tired. Your mind isn't doing this to trouble you. It's trying to look after you. It just doesn't know what time it is. You can tell it, kindly. Not now. We'll look at it tomorrow, with a rested head. And a rested head is genuinely better at this. That isn't a comforting phrase. It's simply true. It's a passing thing. It came from somewhere. It's going somewhere. It's already, quietly, on the move. And here's your evidence from your own life. Think back to this time last year, or 2 years ago. There was something then that felt exactly this heavy. Something that filled your whole chest and kept you up and seemed like it would define everything from then on. Can you name it right now, quickly, without effort? Probably not. Most people can't. That's not because you're careless, or because it didn't matter. It's because it passed. It moved through you, like weather over a field, and the field is still here. That's what this one will do too. You can borrow that view now, if you'd like. Not to dismiss anything, just to stand a little further back. Picture yourself a year from tonight, on an ordinary evening. Nothing dramatic. You're doing something small, putting a cup down, closing a door, and this thing, the one that's so loud right now, is simply not in the room with you. It won't have been solved in one heroic moment. It will have thinned out, the way these things do, into something you handle, or forget, or grow around without noticing. That version of you exists. You're on the way there. The only thing standing between you and them is a stretch of ordinary days and a great deal of sleep. I'm not asking you to believe the thing tonight is small. It might not be small. Some of them are genuinely heavy, and they deserve to be taken seriously. I'm only saying it's moving. That is a very different feeling from permanent. Permanent means you have to fix it tonight. Moving means you can set it down and let it travel on without you for a few hours. Marcus understood something about this that took me a long time to see. He wasn't trying to stop caring. He cared enormously. He wore himself out for people who would never know his name. He just refused to hold anything so tightly that it broke him. He'd look at the thing, feel its weight honestly, and then let the river carry it. That's the difference between being cold and being at peace. Cold is refusing to feel it. Peace is feeling it fully and then loosening your fingers. There's a small picture that helps me here. Imagine standing in a shallow stream, holding a stone under the water. Not a big one, but you have to keep your arm down and your hand closed and stay in that one position to do it. After a while your arm aches, not from the stone, from the holding. If you open your hand, the stone doesn't vanish. It settles onto the bed of the stream. It's still there. You could pick it up tomorrow if you wanted to. The only thing that changes is your arm, which finally gets to rest. That's all we're doing tonight. Not throwing anything away, just opening the hand and letting it sit on the bottom for a few hours while the water keeps moving over it. And you can loosen your fingers now. It's night. Nothing is being decided tonight. There's one more thing, and this is the part that used to make me breathe out. The empire he ran, the largest thing in his world, the whole of civilization as he understood it, that passed too. Not in a crash. It just slowly became something else, the way everything does. The roads are still there. The city is still there. The urgency is entirely gone. Every single thing he lay awake about is now a quiet paragraph in a book. The notebook he never intended anyone to read is the part that stayed. I think there's something soft in that. The things that seem most urgent tend to move on quickly. The things that seem small and private, a few honest lines by lamplight, a kindness, an evening spent well, those have a way of lasting. So whatever is loud in your mind tonight, let it be loud somewhere else. It's already leaving. It has been leaving since the moment it arrived. You don't have to escort it out. You don't have to understand it first. You only have to open your hand a little and let the current do what currents do. Nothing needs your tight hold to be handled properly. The world went on managing itself for a very long time before either of us arrived, and it will keep managing tonight while you sleep. That's not a small thought. Sit with it for a second. Everything that must happen tonight will happen without you. The earth will turn. Tomorrow will arrive on time. And the one job that's actually yours right now is to lie here and let go. Feel your body settle a bit further into the bed while you think about that. Nothing is being held in place tonight, not by you. The day came. The day is going. The night is here, and it's soft, and it's yours. He wrote his reminder down, and then he slept, in a cold tent, with the war still unfinished outside. Not because he'd settled it, because it was night, and night is for setting things down. So do what he did. Notice the weight. Let it be real. Then let it travel on. Let it move. It was always moving. There's a line in his notebook that I think is the single most useful thing he ever wrote down. And it's usable tonight, lying right where you are. He tells himself, more or less, you have the power to hold no opinion about this. Drop the opinion, and the thing stops troubling you. That's it. That's the whole note. It sounds almost too simple. Let me show you what he means, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Something happens. Someone says 4 words to you. A door closes a bit harder than usual. A reply comes back shorter than you expected. That's the event. 4 words, a door, a short message. Then, in about half a second, something else arrives. The meaning. She's annoyed with me. I've done something. This is how it starts. 2 separate things. They feel like one, but they're not. The first one is small and finished. It already happened. It took a moment, and it's over. The second one is the part that follows you to bed. It isn't a fact. It's a guess, a very fast, very confident guess, made by a tired mind with almost nothing to go on. Marcus noticed this about himself constantly. Someone would be curt at the morning meeting, and he'd feel it land, and then he'd catch himself building an entire story about what it meant, about the man's character, about what people were saying, about how he was seen. He'd stop and ask himself, what actually happened, though? A man was short with him. That's the event. Everything else was his own addition. There's another note where he puts it even more plainly. Things themselves, he says, stand quietly outside us. They don't come in. They don't have opinions about us. Whatever disturbance we feel, we make on the inside. That sounds severe until you turn it around. If the trouble is made on the inside, then the quiet can be made there too. And you don't need anyone's permission or any change in the outside world to make it. The 4 words stay 4 words. The door stays a door. You get to decide whether anything else comes in with them. So he trained himself to leave off the addition, not to argue with it, not to talk himself out of it, just not to add it in the first place. Try it now, with whatever is in your head. Say the event to yourself in the plainest words you can find, only what a camera would have seen. No meaning, no motive, no forecast. He answered with 1 word. She didn't call back. The number was lower than I hoped. Notice how it feels different, said that way. Smaller, flatter, almost boring. Now notice everything you were adding to it. The reason, the pattern, what it says about you, what it means for next month. None of that was in the event. You built it, and you're allowed to put it down. Now, I want to be careful here, because this isn't about pretending things are fine. Some things really are what you think. Some people really are difficult. This isn't a trick to talk yourself out of your own judgment, and it isn't about being soft on reality. It's about something much simpler. You don't have to decide tonight. That's all. Not ever. Just not now. The conclusion can wait until morning, when you have a rested head and possibly some actual information. Because here's the honest truth about interpreting things at 2 in the morning. You are tired. It is dark. Nothing new has come in for hours. And a tired mind in the dark leans, reliably, toward the worst reading available. That isn't wisdom. That's just what tired brains do. So the meaning you arrive at tonight isn't the true one. It's the 2 a.m. one. They're rarely the same. You've seen this yourself. Something looms enormous at 3 in the morning, and by 9, with light in the room and a cup of tea in your hand, it's a small item on a list. Nothing about the situation changed overnight, only the mind reading it changed, which tells you something worth knowing. The heaviness isn't coming from the thing. It's coming from the hour. Marcus lived with this on an enormous scale. News travelled by messenger. A report from a distant province could be weeks old by the time it reached his tent. He'd sit with half a story, knowing the rest was still on the road, unable to do anything about it until it arrived. He had to get comfortable with not knowing yet. That's the place I'd like to leave you tonight. Not it's fine, not it's terrible, just, I don't know yet. Say it to yourself. I don't know yet. Part of you will resist this. That's worth naming. The mind hates an open question. It would rather have a bad answer than no answer, because a bad answer at least feels finished. So it reaches for the worst reading and calls it realism, and then relaxes slightly, because at least now it knows. But it doesn't know. It just decided, so it could stop reaching. You can give it something better, not an answer, just permission to stop reaching until morning. Feel how much lighter that is than a conclusion. A conclusion is heavy. You have to defend it, and act on it, and live inside it. I don't know yet asks nothing of you at all. They may be the most restful words in the language, and they're almost always true. You don't know how tomorrow's conversation will go. You don't know what she meant. You don't know what the number will look like in 3 months. Nobody does, and you're not required to. There's a freedom in this that takes a while to feel. Most of what tires us out isn't life, it's commentary. The steady, quiet running commentary about how everything is going, and what it means, and whether we're all right. Marcus had that voice too, an emperor's version of it, with more at stake. He simply found that he could turn the volume down, not by arguing with it, but by declining to add the next line. You can decline the next line as well, right now. Just let the last thought be the last one, and don't reach for what it means. So let the meaning stay unmade tonight. Leave the space empty. It's all right to have a thing in your life that hasn't been decided about yet. A plain event, sitting quietly, with no story attached. That's not carelessness, that's rest. If it helps, picture it as an unopened letter, set on the table by the door. You know it's there. You're not throwing it away, or pretending it never came. You're simply not opening it at midnight, in the dark, on your own, when there's nothing you could do about the contents anyway. It will still be on the table in the morning. You'll open it then, in daylight, awake, with your whole self available. That's not avoidance. That's just good sense about timing. And notice, as you let it go unfinished, how the tightness across your chest eases a little. That tightness was never the event. It was the effort of holding the meaning in place. You can stop holding it now. Let your jaw come apart a little as you do. That's usually where we keep the unfinished thoughts. Let your tongue rest low in your mouth. Let the space between your eyebrows go smooth. Nothing is being worked out down here. Nothing needs to be understood before you sleep. Let the story stay untold until morning. You can leave it undecided tonight. Let me tell you about a small moment in that tent. It's my favorite thing in the whole notebook. It's very early, before light, the kind of hour where the air in a tent is colder than the air outside seems like it should be, and everything you own is faintly damp. The camp is already making its first sounds. A horse somewhere, someone knocking mud off a boot, low voices that don't want to be voices yet. The lamp went out hours ago. There's a thin grey line where the tent flap doesn't quite close, and that line is the only news he has about whether it's morning yet. Outside, past the earthworks, there are hills he doesn't much like the look of, and a river, and beyond that, people who have been trying to take his provinces for years. He's been in tents like this one for a long time. He's not a young man. His stomach troubles him. He's a very long way from anything that smells like home. And the Emperor of Rome is lying under his blankets, wide awake, absolutely not wanting to get up. You know this exact feeling. Everybody does, and everybody always has. That's the strange comfort of this note. Nearly 2,000 years of everything changing. The language, the empires, the machines, the whole shape of a life, and the feeling of not wanting to leave a warm bed is precisely the same, unchanged, shared with every person who has ever pulled a blanket higher. The bed has gone perfectly warm around you. In that way it only manages just before you have to leave it. Your body has an opinion, and the opinion is no. So what does he do? He argues with himself, on paper, and then he keeps the argument, and it survives 1800 years, so that we can read it and feel much better about ourselves. He tells himself, roughly, this: get up. There's the day's business, and it's the business of a human being, and you were made for it. The birds are already at their work. So are the ants. The vines are doing exactly what vines do, without complaint. And here you are, warm and reluctant, loving your own nature less than a bird loves its own. Then, with a kind of dry patience, he adds the obvious. You weren't made to lie under blankets, keeping yourself comfortable. I love that note for 100 reasons, but mostly for this one. He had to have it. The most powerful man in the world had to coax himself out of bed like a schoolchild. Think of everything that was true about him at that moment. Commander of the armies, ruler of most of the known earth, his face on every coin, in every hand, from Spain to Syria. And there he is, under the blankets, not wanting to. He had to do it often enough that he wrote the argument down so he'd have it ready. That's not a saint, that's a person. Notice how he talks to himself while he's doing it. He isn't unkind about it. There's nothing scornful in the note, no calling himself lazy or weak. He just reasons with himself, patiently, the way you'd talk to someone you're fond of. Here's why it's worth getting up. Here's what you're made for. Come on. That's worth borrowing on its own. Most of us are far harsher with ourselves at 5 in the morning than a Roman emperor was with himself, in a freezing tent, in the middle of a difficult year. I'd guess, though nobody can know, that some mornings the argument didn't work, that some mornings he lay there another quarter hour, listening to the camp, letting the world start without him. I hope so. It would be very human of him. Now here's why I wanted to bring you this particular morning tonight. Because your whole relationship with a bed is different at this hour. He had to get up. There were reports waiting. A campaign that wasn't going well. Men who needed decisions from him before breakfast. The entire weight of an empire, standing just outside the canvas, waiting for him to put his feet on cold ground. You don't have any of that. Tonight, the argument runs the other way. There's no case to be made for getting up. Nobody is outside your door. Nothing is waiting for a decision from you before morning. The bed wins tonight, completely, and without any argument at all. Let that land properly, because I think we forget it. You are allowed to be here. This is the correct place for you to be. And this is exactly what you should be doing with these hours. Lying still, getting warm, going nowhere at all. Every single thing you did today has been done. Every task that mattered has either been finished, or it has quietly become tomorrow's, which means it isn't yours right now. Marcus had to leave the warm place. You get to stay in it. That's the whole difference between his morning and your night. And it's entirely in your favor. He had to argue himself out from under the blankets. You get to argue yourself further in. And it's an easy argument, because everything is on your side. The hour, the dark, the warmth, your own tired body, which has been waiting all day for exactly this. So take the comfort he couldn't take. Let yourself sink into it a little further on his behalf. Feel how the blankets are holding their warmth around you. Feel the small pocket of heat your own body has made without being asked, just by lying here. There's nothing to leave, nowhere to be, no cold ground waiting for your feet. Let your legs get heavier. Let your shoulders give up a little more of their shape to the mattress. You have hours, whole hours, and nothing in them. Just this, warm and still, and yours until morning. If some part of you is already reaching ahead, to the alarm, to the list, to the first thing you have to do, you can let that go too. Tomorrow will come and collect you when it's ready. It always manages to. You've never once missed a morning by resting too well. For now, you're off duty, entirely. There's something quietly kind in the idea that he's still keeping you company at this hour. He wrote those lines to get himself moving at dawn. 18 centuries later, they're doing the opposite, helping someone lie still in the dark and stay exactly where they are. I don't think he'd mind. He wrote about how everything gets used for something eventually and turns into something else and carries on. So let his cold morning be your warm night. He got up, in the end. He always did. He put his feet on that freezing ground and went out to a long day he hadn't asked for. And he did it again the next morning, and the one after that. You'll do the same when it's time. That's tomorrow's business, and tomorrow is very good at collecting people. But not yet, not for hours. The camp is quiet, the lamp is out, and unlike a certain tired emperor, you don't have to move. Tonight, you get to stay. The second book of the notebook opens with a note he wrote to be read at the start of a day. He wrote it at Carnuntum, in a garrison town on the river, in the middle of a long campaign. I'd like to bring it to you at the end of one instead. It works even better this way round. Here's roughly what it says. When you wake up, tell yourself, today I'll meet people who get in the way, people who take without thanking, people who think a great deal of themselves and very little of anyone else, people who won't be straight with me. Quite a briefing to give yourself before breakfast. But he isn't being sour. Watch what he does with it next, because the second half is the whole point. They're like this, he says, because they haven't learned any better. They've mixed up what's good for them with what isn't. It isn't a plot. They aren't villains in a story about me. Then comes the part I find genuinely moving. They're made of the same stuff I am, he writes. Same blood, same short life, same confusion. We were built to work alongside each other, like two hands or two rows of teeth. Turning on each other is simply working badly, so he can't hold it over them. He decided that before he opened his eyes, that image stays with me. Two hands. Think about how your hands actually behave. They never compete. One holds the jar while the other turns the lid. One steadies the paper while the other writes. Neither keeps score. That's what he thought people were for. Not a pleasant idea about how things should be. A plain description of what we're built for. The way hands are built for each other. So when someone was difficult with him, he didn't see an opponent. He saw a hand that had forgotten what hands are for. Now, why does he do this at dawn? To remove the surprise. Because surprise is where most of the sting lives. Not in the event, in the gap between what happened and what you expected. If you go into a day assuming everyone will be reasonable, then one short reply knocks you sideways. But if you've already made room for it, of course, some of today will be like this. The same reply barely lands. It's just weather you'd already packed for. He wasn't lowering his opinion of people. He was lowering the drop. Now let's bring it to tonight, because I suspect it's relevant. Something happened today, something small, probably. A tone, a look, being talked over. Someone taking credit, or not saying thank you, or being short with you when you'd done nothing to deserve it. Small enough that you'd feel silly explaining it to anyone. And yet here it is, at midnight, still going round. That's how these things work. The tiny ones stay longest, because they're too small to have a conversation about, so they just sit there. And night is when they come up. All day you were busy, and the small stings went into a pocket somewhere. Then the lights go out, the room goes quiet. There's nothing else to look at, and up they come, one after another, asking to be dealt with at the least useful hour of the day. Your mind isn't being unkind. It's just finally got a free moment. It thinks this is a good time to sort the pile. It isn't, and you're allowed to tell it so. Let's put it down. Start with what Marcus started with. They didn't do it because of you. Almost nobody wakes up planning to be the difficult one. That person was tired, or unwell, or carrying something at home they'd never mention, or repeating a habit they picked up so long ago they don't hear themselves anymore. You caught them on a Tuesday. You saw 1 minute of a life you know almost nothing about. That isn't an excuse for them. It doesn't make it fine. It's just an accurate description of what happened, and accurate descriptions are much lighter to carry than stories. Now the second part, and this is the one that lets people sleep. They've forgotten. Whatever it was, they almost certainly aren't awake right now going over it. They're asleep, or watching something, or thinking about something else entirely. You are the only person still holding this, which means you're not holding it over them at all. You're just holding it, alone, in the dark, at your own expense. Nothing is being fixed by that, not one thing. If it needs saying, you can say it tomorrow, properly, awake, with a calm face. Tonight, it's only wait, so let them have the day back. Picture handing it over, the tone, the look, the moment, not forgiving it if you're not ready, just returning it. It was theirs, they can keep it. You don't need an apology to do this. That's the part people get stuck on. We wait to be released by the other person, as if only they can end it, and so we lie here holding something that depends entirely on someone else waking up and choosing differently. They may never, and you can still put it down. The two things were never connected. You don't have to carry other people's difficult afternoons into your own bed. And here's a thought that might make the whole thing lighter, if you let it. At some point this week, you were the tired one. You were short with someone who hadn't done anything. You didn't say thank you, or you weren't really listening because your head was full. That's not said to make you feel poorly, quite the opposite. It means none of this is a character flaw. And it's just what tired people do to each other, all day long, everywhere, and have done since there were people. You've been on both sides of it, probably today, which makes it much easier to set down. Nobody's keeping a record. There isn't one. There's something else here, gentler, that I think Marcus understood better than most. He spent his life among the least restful people imaginable, courtiers, generals, men who wanted things from him constantly, a whole empire of people being their most demanding version. He still wrote, over and over, that the answer was kindness, Not because they'd earned it, because bitterness was a worse way to spend a life, and he'd only got the one. That's the quiet arithmetic of it. Holding a grudge costs you the evening. It cost them nothing at all. He isn't asking you to be a saint about it. He wasn't one either. He wrote these reminders precisely because his first reaction was the same as everybody's. The flash of irritation, the imagined reply, the whole speech you deliver perfectly in the shower. He just noticed where that road ended. Another hour lost. Another evening spent with someone who isn't even in the room. So set it down for the night, at least. You can pick it up in the morning if you decide it's worth carrying. Most of the time you'll find you don't bother. Let your hands soften as you let it go. They usually curl a little when we're going over these things. Let the fingers open. Let the arms get heavy. Tomorrow there will be people again. Some of them will be difficult, exactly as he warned. You'll meet that when you get there, rested, with your whole self. Tonight there's nobody here at all. No tone, no look, no one to manage. Just you, in a quiet room, off duty from all of it. Notice how quiet it actually is. No one wants anything. No one is waiting for an answer. For these few hours, you owe nobody a single word. That's a rare thing in a life. He almost never had it. You have it right now. Let them keep the day. You keep the night. There's a short line of his that has become quite famous. Only a few words. Something like, "What blocks the path turns into the path." You may have met it before, on a poster or a coffee cup. It's usually shouted, and it usually means your problems are really opportunities, so get up and make something of them. That's not what he meant, and I don't think you need that tonight. So let me give you the quiet version, the one written by a tired man in a tent, not by anyone selling anything. He wasn't saying difficulties are good. He knew perfectly well that some things are simply unwelcome and stay unwelcome. He'd had years of them. He was saying something much smaller and much more useful. Whatever is blocking you tonight is blocking one particular road. It isn't blocking everything. Say the journey is delayed. That stops the traveling. It doesn't stop you being patient or warm to the person beside you, or quiet inside yourself while you wait. Say someone is being difficult. That stops the easy version of the day. It doesn't stop you being decent. The block takes away one option. It never takes away all of them, and whatever is left is what he called the way. That's all. No triumph, no lesson you have to extract. Just, there's always something available, even here, even now. I find it helps to make it very small and very ordinary. The shop is closed, so you walk home slowly and notice the evening. The plan collapses, so you have an unexpected empty hour. Someone lets you down, so you find out how you'd like to handle being let down. None of that fixes anything. Nobody's pretending the closed shop was lucky. It's just that the moment didn't become empty. Something was still going on in it, and you were still in there, being a person. That's the whole of it. The road you meant to take is shut. You're still here, and here has things in it. He knew what he was talking about, by the way. He'd lived it in the largest possible way. By everything we can tell, he never wanted the life he got. He was drawn to quiet study, to reading and thinking, to long conversations with his teachers. What arrived instead was an empire, and then years of campaigning in cold places, and a body that ached, and problem after problem that couldn't be handed to anyone else. The life he wanted was blocked, permanently. There was no version of events where he became the quiet scholar, so he did the only thing left. He became a philosopher inside an emperor's life, intense, in snatched half hours, on the backs of whatever paper was to hand, and that's why we have the notebook at all. If he'd got the peaceful life he wanted, he'd have written something polished and forgettable. We'd never have heard of him. The block turned into the path, not by being a gift, just by being the only ground he had to stand on. Think of water meeting a stone in a stream. The water doesn't argue with the stone. It doesn't wait for the stone to move, and it doesn't stop being water. It simply goes around and keeps going, and after a very long time the stone is smoother and the water is still on its way to the sea. Nothing heroic happens. Nothing is overcome. The water just doesn't stop. Now let's bring this to the room you're lying in, because there's a version of it that matters at this hour. Tonight, the thing in your way might be being awake. That's a particular kind of frustration, and if you're feeling it, I'd like to speak to it directly. You came to bed to sleep. Sleep is the whole point of the exercise, and somewhere in the last while, a small voice started keeping score. Still awake. That's another hour gone. Tomorrow won't be easy. The more that voice talks, the further away sleep goes, because you can't demand sleep. It isn't that kind of thing. The wanting is what keeps it at the edge of the room. So here's the block becomes the path version, and it's a genuine relief when it lands. You can't make yourself sleep, but you can rest, right now, already, without permission from anyone, lying warm, in the dark, with your eyes closed and your body still. That is rest, real rest. Your muscles are letting go whether you're asleep or not. Your breathing has slowed. Nothing is being asked of you. The rest is happening. You're doing it at this moment. Once you stop needing the night to be sleep, it turns out the night was already giving you something. That's the whole move. Not conquering the wakefulness, just stopping the argument with it and taking what's here instead. Let's actually do it, gently. Give up on sleeping tonight. I mean that kindly. Take it off the list. It isn't required. Nobody is coming to check. There's no mark for this, and no one has ever been thanked in the morning for having slept correctly. Sleep is not something you achieve. It's something that happens to you, the way weather happens to a field. The field doesn't arrange the rain. It just lies there, open, and the rain arrives when it arrives. Your only job now is to lie here comfortably and let your body be still. That's it. If sleep turns up, lovely. If it doesn't, you'll have spent the night resting, warm, unbothered, and that is a perfectly good use of a night. Feel how the pressure drops when nothing is being measured, and notice, while the pressure is down, that your body hasn't been waiting for your permission anyway. It's been getting ready this whole time, quietly, underneath the conversation. Your temperature has already dropped a little, the way it does every night. Your heart has slowed. The muscles along your back have been letting go, one fiber at a time, since you lay down. None of that needed you. It happens in every creature, every night, without instruction. You've done it thousands of times without ever once knowing how. So the only part that was ever difficult is the part you're putting down now, the noticing and the wanting and the checking whether it's happening yet. There's no test now, nothing to get right, no hour to beat. Here's the odd part, which anyone who's tried this will tell you. The moment you stop reaching for sleep, it usually comes and finds you. Not because it's a trick, because the reaching was the only thing keeping it away. So let the reaching go. Whatever else is in your way tonight, the delayed thing, the unresolved thing, the person, the hour, you don't have to move it. You only have to find what's still available in the space beside it. And what's available is this: a warm bed, a quiet room, a body that is already letting go, several hours in which absolutely nothing is required of you. That's not a consolation prize. That's the thing itself. He wrote his lines about this in a place where nothing was going the way he'd hoped. Cold ground, a campaign with no end in sight, years away from home, and no prospect of the life he'd have chosen. And still, every night, the same small, ordinary things were available to him: darkness, quiet, a blanket, a body that wanted to rest. Exactly the things that are available to you right now. He'd have been glad of your bed. The water goes around the stone. You settle a little deeper into the mattress. Neither of you needs to move the other. There's nothing in your way tonight. Rest is already here. The first book of the notebook isn't like the others. The rest is a man talking to himself, arguing, reminding, steadying. But the first book is something else entirely. It's a thank you list, page after page of it. He goes through the people who made him, one at a time, and writes down what each of them gave him. His grandfather for good temper, his mother for generosity, and for living simply, well below what she could have afforded, a tutor for teaching him to put up with cold and to want very little, another for teaching him not to take sides at the races. Small things, ordinary things, nothing about conquest or glory anywhere in it. The longest entry is for the man who adopted him and made him his heir. He watches that man closely and writes down what he sees: that he was mild, that he stuck with a decision once he'd made it, that he took no pleasure in being flattered, that he looked after his health without fussing over it, and so rarely needed a doctor, that he could go without things and could enjoy them when they came, without needing either. It reads like a son studying a father, quietly, trying to learn how it's done. And I want you to notice where he chose to put this. It's the beginning, before anything else, before a single piece of advice to himself. The most powerful man in the world sits down and names everyone he owes, not to publish it. Nobody was ever going to read it. He just wanted, for himself, to get it straight who he was made of. Now, in the middle of that list, there's an entry for a man called Rusticus. Rusticus was one of his teachers, and by the sound of it, the one who mattered most. He wasn't a soft man. He seems to have corrected Marcus regularly, and Marcus is grateful for exactly that. Look at what he thanks him for, though. It's such a plain list, for showing him he needed to work on his character at all, for steering him away from clever writing and fine phrases and the sort of showing off that impresses people, for teaching him to write letters in simple language, and for teaching him to make things up quickly with people who'd upset him as soon as they were willing. Nothing grand, just how to be a decent man in ordinary language. Then, near the end of that entry, there's one more line, almost thrown away. He thanks Rusticus for lending him a copy of Epictetus's Lessons from his own collection. Stop there a moment. Picture the scene, because I think it's one of the loveliest moments in the whole book. An older man goes to his own shelf, takes down something he owns and values, and hands it to a young student, and says something like, "You should read this one." That's all. A book passed from one pair of hands to another, in a room somewhere in Rome, on an afternoon nobody recorded. And what was in it? The Lessons of Epictetus. A man who had begun his life as a property of another household, and who ended up teaching the sons of senators. He never wrote a word of it down himself. A student took notes. So, notes, taken by a student, of a man born into service, lent by a teacher, to a boy who would one day rule the world. The boy carried it for the rest of his life. It's in the notebook everywhere. Decades later, in a freezing tent by a river at the edge of the world, he was still living out of that book. Which means the calm we've been drawing on all night began with a small act of generosity. His steadiness, his kindness, the notes that lasted 18 centuries, all of it downstream of one man lending another man a book. Rusticus never knew, he couldn't have. He handed over a book and went on with his afternoon. I think about that more than almost anything else in this notebook. Everything Marcus became was already sitting on a shelf in someone else's house. It needed one person to notice a young man, and think of him, and reach up. That's how most good things travel, not in great events, in small handings over, between two people, on days nobody thought to write down. Now I'd like to bring that to you, because there's something here for tonight. Somebody did this for you. Not with a book, necessarily. Maybe a sentence at the right moment. A job someone put your name forward for. Someone who was patient with you when you were young and difficult. Someone who showed you how to do a thing without making you feel small for not knowing. They probably don't know either. Most people who change us never find out. It was a Tuesday for them. That's how it usually goes. The things that shape a life almost never announce themselves. Nobody says, "This is the sentence you'll still be using in 30 years. They just say it, and get on with their afternoon, and it goes into you and stays, which means you've probably done it for someone too, without ever hearing about it. Something you said once, and forgot immediately, is still in use somewhere. Let one of them come to mind now. Don't reach for the most important one, just whoever turns up. Hold them there for a second, what they gave you, how it's still in you, right now, tonight, doing its quiet work. That's a very different thing to be holding at midnight than the tone somebody used at work. Here's what Marcus understood, and it's the real teaching of this one. He could have ended his day counting what went wrong. There was plenty. Every day of his life had plenty. Instead, when he opened his private notebook, the first thing he did was count who had been good to him. That's a choice about what to do with a mind at the end of a day, and it's available to you right now, lying here, with no effort at all. So let the day close that way, not with a tally of what went badly, with one person who was kind to you once, whether they meant to be or not. That's how he started. It's a good way to finish. You don't have to make a list. One face is enough. One kindness, held loosely, while your body goes on settling into the bed. Notice what it does to your chest, holding that instead. The difference is small, but it's real. Something eases when the mind is turned towards someone who was good to you, and if more of them start arriving, a teacher, a neighbor, someone who waited for you once, let them come. It's a soft thing to fall asleep in the middle of. Let the names drift through as slowly as they like. There's no order, nothing to complete. Let the last thought be a kind one. He noticed something about the people around him, and I think he'd notice exactly the same thing about us. They were always planning to get away, a place in the country, a house by the sea, a few weeks in the hills, where it's cooler and nobody wants anything. The Romans were as devoted to this as we are. The villa, the coast, the retreat from the noise of the city. He writes, in the gentlest possible way, that this is a slightly foolish way to go about it, not because rest is foolish, because of the distance. You can go inward, he says, whenever you like, and there is nowhere quieter than a person's own mind, nowhere more peaceful. You can retire there in a moment and come back settled. He wasn't being clever. He was being practical, in the way of someone who had very few options. Because think about his situation. He wasn't going to the coast. There was no quiet villa waiting at the end of the campaign season. For years, the answer to when do I get to rest was, not this year. So he found the one retreat that was always available, the one that needs no journey, no arrangements, and nobody's permission. And notice how short he expected these visits to be. He isn't describing an hour of sitting still. He's talking about moments, a breath's worth, long enough to stop being pulled about by whatever's happening, and then back to it, little and often, all day long. That was the whole method of the most powerful man in the world, and it's the only one he had time for. Now, we do the same thing he watched them doing. We put rest somewhere else. After this project, after the move, in August, when the children are older, there's a cabin in most people's heads, and it's always a little further along the road than where they are. There's nothing wrong with wanting the cabin. It's lovely to plan. The catch is that it quietly teaches you that rest is somewhere you have to get to, which means it's never here, which means it's never now, which means that on an ordinary Tuesday night, in your own bed, with nothing actually required of you, you can lie there feeling that real rest is still weeks away. It isn't. It's the closest thing there is, and the cabin wouldn't fix it anyway. You know that, somewhere. People take the holiday and lie awake in a nicer room, going over the same 3 things. The mind packs itself and comes along, which is good news, oddly. If the quiet doesn't come from the place, then the place was never the problem, and you don't have to wait until August. Let me show you what he means, plainly, because this is not a mystical idea. There's nothing to believe. All day, your attention has been pointed outward, at screens, at people, at the road, at the next thing. That's normal. That's what days are. Going inward is simply turning that attention around. Let's do it now, slowly, and you'll see it isn't difficult. Start with the room. Notice that you are aware of it, the shape of the space around you, the dark, whatever small sounds there are. Now let the room go. You don't need to keep track of it. It'll manage without you. Come to the surface of your body, the weight of you on the mattress, the warmth under the covers, the places where the fabric touches your skin. Stay there a moment. That's already closer in. Now come further. Come to the breath, not to change it, just to be where it is. The small rise, the slow fall, the pause between. And further still, behind the eyes, that quiet unlit place at the middle of you, where nobody has ever been except you. That's the retreat. You just walked into it in about 30 seconds without moving. No packing, no booking, no waiting until the right week of the year. That's what he was pointing at. Not a technique, a fact about where you already are. Notice what's true in here. Nothing is happening. Nothing needs deciding. It's the same in here tonight as it was a year ago, and as it will be next year. This place doesn't take on the color of your day. It was here during the difficult afternoon. It'll be here on the good days too, unchanged. It's the one part of you that nothing has ever managed to get at. Everything else about you has been handled by the world. Your name gets used. Your time gets booked. Your face is arranged for other people all day long, in 100 small ways you stopped noticing years ago, but not this. Nobody has ever been in here. Nobody has ever asked anything of it. It has no history of being disappointed, because nothing has ever touched it. It's the oldest and most private thing you own. and it's been sitting quietly in the middle of you since you were small. You've been here before without noticing. That moment when you were absorbed in something and looked up and an hour had gone. The pause at the top of a hill. The first minute after a door closes and the house goes quiet. Same place. You just arrived at it by accident those times. There are others, standing at a window early before anyone else is up. The moment the engine goes off at the end of a long drive, floating on your back in water with your ears under and the world going soft and far away. None of those were special locations. Nothing was arranged. You simply stopped attending to the outside for a moment, and there it was, exactly where it always is. Which tells you it isn't a state you have to produce. It's what's left when you stop producing. Here's the part that matters at this hour. You don't have to make it quiet in here. It already is. The noise you've been listening to all day was never coming from this place. It came from the surface, from thoughts arriving and leaving, from the day's small alarms. Underneath all of that, this has been sitting here, untouched, the whole time. Even tonight, while your mind was going over things, this was here, quiet the entire while, waiting patiently, as it always does, so you can stay in here for the rest of the night. There's no reason to come back out. Nothing out there needs you before morning. The room will keep. The day is over, and the next one hasn't been built yet. This is the one night of your week where you're allowed to simply stay in the quiet part and not return calls. Not by concentrating. Concentration is effort, and there's none of that left. Just by letting your attention rest where it already is, and stop traveling. That's what he did in the tent, between one thing and the next. A few moments turned inward, and then he could go on. He called it renewing yourself, and he told himself to do it constantly, because it costs nothing and it's always available. For you it's even simpler tonight, because you're not going anywhere afterwards. You can go in and stay in, and let it carry you all the way down into sleep. And sleep, when you think about it, is only the deepest version of this. Every night of your life you've gone inward, all the way in, past thinking, past the room, past your own name. And every morning you've come back, gathered up, renewed, in a way that no holiday has ever quite managed. You've been making this journey since before you could speak. Your body knows the road perfectly. It's already started along it. Feel yourself drop a little further inward with each breath out, away from the room, away from the day, into the still, dark, private quiet that has always been in the middle of you. There was never anywhere to get to. The quiet place is here. You never had to travel. When something was pressing on him, he had a particular thing he did. It comes up several times in the notebook, so it clearly helped. He'd lift the view. Instead of staying at eye level with the problem, he'd imagine looking down on the whole world from a great height. Everything at once, all of it going on together. It's a strange practice to read about, and a lovely one to actually do. So let's do it tonight, slowly, and let it carry you a little further down while we go. There's nothing to picture perfectly, by the way. If the images come clearly, good. If they don't, that's just as good. The point isn't the picture, it's the stepping back. Start where you are. You're lying in a room. Feel the size of it around you, the walls, the ceiling above you, the dark corners you can't quite see. Now let the view lift gently until you're looking down at the whole building. Yours, and the rooms beside it, and the ones above and below. Other people in their own beds, in their own quiet. Further now. The street, the row of roofs, wet or dry, and the road running between them, and the small lights left on here and there. Further, the whole town, spread out in the dark, all the streets you know, and many you've never walked, thousands of rooms, thousands of people lying down. Keep going. The country now, laid out below like something drawn. Fields, rivers, the coast, with the sea going out flat and dark beyond it, and further still, until you can see the curve of the earth and the shadow of the night lying across half of it, moving very slowly westward. Rest there for a moment. You can see the whole shape of the night from here. A soft edge of light along one side, where morning is already arriving for somebody. Darkness across the middle, where most people are asleep. Oceans with almost nothing on them. Just a few slow ships crossing in the dark. It's a very peaceful thing to look at. Nothing is hurrying. Look at what's happening down there, all at the same time. Somewhere it's the middle of the afternoon. Someone is buying bread. Someone is at a wedding. Someone is on a train, watching fields go past. There are people harvesting, and people arguing about nothing, and people falling in love, and people making a cup of tea and thinking about a phone call. Millions of ordinary things, all happening together, all going along fine. Nobody is coordinating any of it. There's no one at the middle keeping the whole arrangement upright. It simply runs, the way it has every day for a very long time, made entirely of people getting on with their afternoons. And this is what he found in it. Not that any of it doesn't matter, only that it's very large and very old, and it keeps going. Whatever was pressing on him, a report, a difficult man, a decision that had to be made by Thursday, it didn't vanish from up here. It just took its proper size, one thread in an enormous, ordinary, turning world. I want to be careful here, because there's a cold way to read this, and it isn't his. He wasn't saying you're small, and therefore nothing you do counts. He never once wrote that. He gave everything he had to people he would never meet, right to the end, precisely because he thought it counted. He was saying the weight is smaller than it feels at close range. It's the same as walking away from a painting. Stand right up close to it, and all you can see is a few rough marks. Step back 6 paces, and it becomes a field with weather in it. Nothing about the painting changed. You just stopped standing so close. You're not less. The load is less. Those are very different things. And notice something else from up here, which I find warmer than anything. Every one of those lights down there has somebody under it carrying something. Every single one. The person buying bread has a thing they're going over. So does the one at the wedding. So does the one on the train. Nobody is doing this unburdened. It isn't only you, and it never was. And every one of them will lie down tonight, or has already, or will in a few hours when their own dark comes round. The same simple thing, over and over, across the whole turning surface, bodies going still, lights going off, the world putting itself to bed in shifts, the way it always has. You're one light among millions, and every other light is also holding something, and the whole thing keeps turning anyway. It has for a very long time. It managed for thousands of years before you, and it'll manage tonight while you sleep. Nothing is waiting on you personally to hold it up. That's worth staying with for a second, because a tired mind rarely believes it. Some part of us goes to bed still on duty, as though the whole arrangement might slip if we fully let go. It won't. It never has. You've slept every night of your life, and the world has been there each morning, entirely unbothered by your absence. That's the relief in it. Not smallness, company, and people have been lying awake under this same sky for as long as there have been people. long before him, long before the roads and the empires. Somebody has always been awake at this hour, thinking about tomorrow, listening to the dark, waiting for sleep to come. You've joined something very old tonight. It isn't a problem you developed. It's just one of the things a person does sometimes, and it has always been so, and morning has always arrived anyway. Now let's come back down, slowly, because I'd like to leave you home and safe, the curve of the earth, then the coast and the fields, then your town with its thousands of quiet rooms, then your street, then this building, then this room, exactly as it was, with the covers over you and the dark all around. And then here, the weight of your body on the mattress, the warmth you've made, the breath going in and out without being asked. This is the whole of your world for the next few hours. This little warm shape under the covers, nothing beyond the edge of the bed is yours tonight. The rest of it, the streets, the fields, the coast, the slow ships, all of that is being looked after by somebody else, or by nobody at all. And it's fine either way. One small warm light among millions, exactly where it belongs. The world is very large tonight, and it's carrying on beautifully without your help. There's nothing left for you to hold up. Let the world be big. Let yourself be small and safe inside it. At the end of a day in camp, there's a particular ritual. A man comes in, and he begins to take things off, not all at once, piece by piece in order, the way you do when you've done it 10,000 times. The helmet first, then the pieces at the shoulders, then the weight across the chest, unbuckled and lifted away, then the belt, then the pieces at the shins, then, last of all, the boots. With each piece, the body comes up a little, lighter, easier, more itself. By the end, he's just a tired man in a plain tunic, and he can finally sit down. There's a sound to it, too. The small noises of buckles and straps giving way, metal set down on wood, and then the long quiet afterwards, when there's nothing left to undo. 2,000 years later, we still do a version of this. Shoes off at the door, the belt undone, the bra unhooked. That first deep breath in the hallway when the day is officially over. The body always knows the difference. You've been wearing something today too. Not metal, but something. The face you keep on for other people. The shoulders held a bit higher than they need to be. The jaw that's been set since about 9 in the morning. The stomach pulled in. The quiet, all-day holding of a person getting through a day. You've had it on for hours, and most of the time you don't feel it, because you've been wearing it so long it stopped registering as weight. So let's take it off, the same way, piece by piece. Start at the top. Let the forehead go. All that small holding between the eyebrows, the thinking, the concentrating, the low level attending to everything. Let it smooth out. Feel the scalp loosen behind it, right across the top of your head. Now the eyes. They've been open and busy since morning. Let them be completely still under the lids, nothing to look at, nothing to follow. Let the small muscles around them soften, out toward the temples. Now the jaw. That's where most of us keep the day. Let the back teeth come apart. Let the tongue drop away from the roof of your mouth and rest low and heavy. Let the whole lower half of your face go slack, the way it does when you're already asleep. Nobody's looking. You can let your face be nothing at all. That one matters more than people realize. We arrange our faces all day, for everyone, without ever deciding to. Letting it go is one of the quickest ways down. Now the throat and the neck. Let the neck lengthen without effort. Let the head be fully given to the pillow, its whole weight, not half of it. Most people hold a little of their own head all night. Let it go completely. Take another slow breath, and let this one out slowly too. Notice you're already further down than you were when we started. Nothing dramatic happened. You just stopped holding a few things. Now the shoulders, the heaviest piece, let them come down and away from your ears, further than you think. Then let them go a little further still, and feel them spread and settle into the mattress. That's a piece a lot of people never take off. Notice how much lighter you are without it. Down the arms now. Upper arms heavy, elbows heavy, forearms giving in, and the hands. Let the fingers uncurl a little, palms soft, nothing to hold. Now the chest. Let it be loose around the breath. You don't have to breathe carefully. Let the ribs move however they want to, and let everything between them be easy. Take one slow breath here, and let the out-breath be longer than the in. Feel how the whole front of you softens as it leaves. Everything you've released so far settles down another layer. There's no hurry through any of this. We have all night. Now the belly. Let it out, completely. Let it rise and fall as much as it likes. You've probably been holding it in all day without deciding to. Now the back. Feel the whole length of it along the bed. From the shoulders down, let each part hand its weight over to the mattress. Nothing needs holding up. That's what the bed is for. And now everything below the waist, which has carried you all day. Now the hips, sinking, the thighs, heavy and warm, the knees, letting go, the calves, soft, and the feet, let them fall open in whatever direction they'd like, ankles loose, toes doing nothing at all. There, everything's off, nothing left on you, no armor, no held face, no shoulders up, no stomach in. Just a body, warm under the covers, lying exactly as it wants to lie. This is how a body is meant to be at night. Not arranged, not managed, just put down. Your body has been waiting for this all day. Every hour since you got up, some part of it has been holding a position for you. Sitting a certain way, standing a certain way, keeping a face on for a room. It never complained about any of it. It just did what was needed and waited. This is its turn now. This is the part of the day that belongs entirely to it. He would have known this feeling well, the moment when the last piece comes off and the day is finally, physically over. You've reached that moment now. Nothing more is being asked of this body tonight. It carried you everywhere you went today, without being thanked once, and now it can stop. Let it stop completely. Notice how much heavier you feel than a few minutes ago. That's not tiredness, that's the weight you were carrying without noticing, finally resting on something that can hold it. If anywhere is still holding on, go back and visit it gently. The jaw, usually, or one shoulder. Let it join the rest. You don't have to make it let go. Just put your attention there, kindly, and wait a moment. That's usually enough. Attention on its own does most of the work, the same way a hand on someone's back settles them without being asked to. And if something stays a little held, leave it be. It'll come along in its own time, once the rest of you is asleep. Bodies finish this off by themselves. Then simply lie here, unarmored, and let the bed do everything. Nothing left to wear, just you, and the dark, and the bed. He tells himself, again and again, to stay in the present. It's one of the notes he clearly needed most, because it comes back constantly, in a dozen different shapes. The reasoning behind it is very simple. The past is finished. It isn't yours anymore. You couldn't reach it if you tried. The future hasn't been made yet. It isn't yours either. Nobody has ever held a piece of it, which leaves one thing in your hands. This, the moment you're actually in. That's the whole argument. And it sounds obvious until you notice where your mind has been all evening. And he had more reason than most to live somewhere other than the present. He had an empire's worth of future to attend to, campaigns to plan, successions to arrange, reports coming in from provinces he'd never see, about problems that wouldn't reach him for weeks. If anyone had grounds to spend his evenings in next year, it was him. He still told himself, over and over, to come back to the thing in front of him, because next year wasn't available. It never is, not to emperors either, because at this hour it's almost never here. It's in a conversation from Tuesday, running it again with better lines, or in a meeting that hasn't happened yet, rehearsing a face to make, or 3 weeks ahead, in a situation that may never arrive at all. Everywhere except this room, where you actually are. So let's do the thing he did, and come back for a moment. Right now, this exact second as you hear this, I'd like you to notice something. Notice what's actually here. Not tomorrow, not in general, not the whole picture of your life. Just here, in this room, in this second. You're lying down. You're warm. The air is fine. Your body is doing everything it needs to without being asked. Nothing is happening to you at all. In this moment, right now, you are completely all right. That's usually true, which is the strange part. If you check the actual present, not the picture of it, the real one, it's nearly always perfectly manageable. It's a warm bed and some quiet air. All the weight comes from somewhere else, from a room you've already left, or one you haven't walked into yet. The mind travels and brings back heavy things and drops them here. It's a habit, that's all. Not a truth about your life. Just something the mind learnt to do, the way it learnt to hum a tune you don't like. And habits loosen when you notice them. You don't have to argue. Noticing is enough. Hans no more. I'm not saying tomorrow's difficulty isn't real. It probably is. It just isn't here. Here. It's in a different room, several hours down the corridor, and you'll get there when you get there. Rested, with a clear head, in daylight. That's a much better version of you to hand it to. For now, you can stay in this one. There's nothing in this room that needs handling. Look around it in your mind, if you like. The walls, the door, the covers, the dark. All of it perfectly still. All of it minding its own business. This is a safe hour in a safe room, and it belongs to you. So come back, gently. Use something ordinary to hold on to. The weight of your head on the pillow. That's now. The temperature of the air on your face, cooler than the rest of you under the covers. That's now. The sound of the room, whatever small hum or quiet is in it. That's now. Your breath, arriving and leaving without any help. That's now. The weight of the covers over your legs. That's now. Whatever your hands are resting on. That's now. None of those things require anything from you. They're just here, being fine. That's what the present is mostly made of. Ordinary, unremarkable, perfectly all right things. It rarely makes the news. Notice how small the present is. That's what makes it manageable. You can't hold a whole week. Nobody can. But you can hold one breath. Anyone can do one breath, and then the next one, which is also perfectly manageable. That's all life ever asks. This one, then the next one. We only get into difficulty when we try to carry a whole year at once, at midnight, lying down. Nobody could do that. It isn't a shortcoming in you. It's simply more than a person is built to hold, and you were never meant to try. So put the year down. You can have it back in the morning, in pieces, at a sensible size. There's one more thing, and it's the reason this matters tonight. Sleep only happens in the present. You can't fall asleep in tomorrow. You can't fall asleep in a conversation from last week. Sleep arrives here, or not at all, into this bed, this breath, this quiet, which means every minute your mind spends in next Thursday is a minute spent away from the only place sleep can find you. Primchu, nothing to correct there. Just come home as often as you drift. So every time you come back to now, you're moving toward it, not by trying, just by being where sleep is. And when your mind wanders off again, and it will several times, that's fine, that's completely normal. Just come back to the pillow, and the air, and the breath, as many times as it takes. Each return is a small step down, and you don't have to hold on to now, either. You couldn't if you wanted to. It keeps becoming the next one. That's fine. It's a river, not a shelf. You only have to be in it, loosely, while it moves along beneath you. This moment is warm, and quiet, and safe, and it's the only one that exists. Stay here. Everything is well in this moment. Earlier we looked at how he began his notebook, by naming the people who made him. He has another note, though, that's smaller and more immediate. It's a way of looking at a single ordinary day. Think about what you have, he says, rather than what's missing. Take the best of it, and then imagine how much you'd want those things if they weren't yours. That last part is the whole trick. It's a strange feature of being a person. We're built to stop seeing what stays. A thing arrives, and for a week it's wonderful, and then it becomes the background, and after that we only notice it if it goes, which means the good in a day is almost always invisible while you're in it. Everything reliable disappears. The people who are steady, the health that holds, the roof that doesn't leak, all of it goes quiet in the mind precisely because it never asks for attention. So the things most worth having are usually the ones you'd have the most difficulty listing. So let's make some of it visible, gently, before you sleep. Start with where you are. You have a bed. Not everyone does. You have a roof over it, and walls around it, and a door you are able to close. You're warm. The room is dark because you were able to make it dark. It's quiet enough to rest in. You're safe here. Nobody is going to wake you and ask you to move. Now do what he suggested. Imagine, just for a second, wanting all of this. Being cold and picturing a warm bed. Being somewhere loud and picturing a quiet room. That's how much you actually have right now. Not in a lecture way, just accurately. Minus after beans and Willidental. The tired emperor writing by lamplight would have looked at your bed with something close to longing. Picture him for a second. Damp canvas, cold ground, a thin mattress if any, boots that never quite dried out, years of that at the edge of the world. Then picture what you're lying on right now. Dry, soft, warm, yours. A door between you and the weather, and nobody outside it needing anything. He'd have thought he'd walked into a palace. Now go back through the day, slowly, and pick up the small things that were given to you. Not achievements, not the list of what you got done. Gifts, the things that simply arrived. Warm water at some point. That's remarkable, and it happened without you thinking about it. Something to eat, something to drink that you liked the taste of. A moment of sitting down when you'd been standing. Light when you needed it. A door that shut properly. Shoes that fit. Maybe someone said something ordinary and kind. Maybe someone didn't say something unkind, which is its own quiet gift. Air that was breathable. Legs that carried you where you asked them to. Somewhere in the day there was probably a smell you liked. Bread, or coffee, or rain on a pavement, or soap. There was almost certainly a moment when you weren't thinking about anything at all, waiting for something to boil, or looking out of a window. And it was quite pleasant, and you never registered it. There was light in the morning. There was, at some point, the specific comfort of taking something off, or putting something on. None of it was arranged for you. It simply came with the day. None of that is small, really. It only looks small because it's reliable. Now, I want to be careful here, because there's a version of this that's irritating. I'm not asking you to feel grateful. Feelings don't arrive on command, and being told to feel a thing usually makes it further away. I'm only asking you to notice, because at this hour the mind naturally runs the other list. What went badly, what's unfinished, what you should have said. And that list is real. It's just not the whole day. The day also had warm water in it, and a chair, and a door that closed. Both lists are true. You're simply not obliged to read out only one of them at midnight. And this works even on the difficult days, especially on those. If today was heavy, the warm water still happened. The chair still held you. Somebody, somewhere, was ordinary and decent to you for 4 seconds. That doesn't fix the heavy part. It was never meant to. It just means the day wasn't only that, and on a heavy day, knowing it wasn't only that is worth quite a lot. So let the second one be the one that's open as you fall asleep. Not because it cancels anything, just because it's kinder, and it's equally accurate, and you have to be holding something. And notice how it sits differently in the body. Going over what went badly tightens things. The shoulders, the stomach, the jaw. Going over what was given softens them. Same day, same person, different thing held. You don't have to believe anything for that to work. It just does. So finish the count with where you are right now. You have a warm bed, a dark room, several free hours, and a body that's already letting go. That's a very good end to a day. Most of the people who have ever lived would have taken it gladly. Feel the bed underneath you while you think that. The give of the mattress, the particular warmth that's built up around you since you lay down. That warmth is a gift too. Nobody made it for you. Your own body did it, quietly, while you were busy thinking about other things. And the supply doesn't stop overnight. Tomorrow has its own set waiting, already stacked up, without you having to arrange a single one. Light will arrive at the window whether you ask for it or not. Water will run warm again. The kettle will do what kettles do. You don't have to plan for any of that. It's simply how the days come, with the small things already included, the way they were today. Let that be a soft reason to go under. Not escaping anything, just crossing over to the next set. Let that be the last thing the mind holds tonight. Not the list of what went badly, the plain, quiet fact of what you were given. You have everything you need for tonight. There's a note where he calls the mind a stronghold. The one place, he says, that nothing can get into. Retreat there, and you're beyond reach. Now, I don't want that to sound cold or closed off, because it isn't. It's much gentler than that. Think of an old building instead, a large, thick-walled one, the kind that stays cool in summer. Somewhere at the middle of it, a small room, not a hiding place, just a room a long way in. There's a courtyard outside, and beyond that a street, and beyond that a market with all its noise. None of it reaches this room. Not because anything is holding it back, simply because it's too far in for sound to travel. That's the place he's describing, and you have one. He needed it more than most. Think of his days, people at him from the moment he woke, every one of them wanting something, most of them being careful with him in the way people are careful with someone powerful. He couldn't get away. There was no version of his life with fewer people in it, so he went in instead, a few moments at a time, in the middle of all of it, into the one room nobody could follow him into, then back out, steady again, to whoever was waiting. That's what kept him kind rather than hardened. It's a real difference, and it's the reason the notebook is warm instead of bitter. Let me show you where it is by showing you what can't get to it. Someone's tone this afternoon. That happened out in the street. It never came in here. The message you're still composing. That's out in the courtyard, pacing about. It has never once entered this room. What people think of you, what went badly last spring, the thing you have to sort out on Thursday, all of it out there, all of it noisy, none of it in here. This isn't a trick of positive thinking. Look at the evidence in yourself. Something in you has been present for every difficult thing that's ever happened to you. It was there for all of it, from beginning to end, and it came through untouched. Your circumstances took the marks. Your body has a few, but the part of you that was quietly present through all of it is exactly as it was when you were 7 years old, lying in a different bed, looking at a different ceiling. Nothing has ever actually got in. Things have happened around you. Things have happened to your life, and to the people in it, and to the plans you had. But the small quiet place that was present through all of it has never been entered, not once. It has no history at all. That's why it's still available tonight, as fresh as it was the first time you noticed it. That's not a nice idea. It's just true, and you can check it. Because who is it that has been listening to my voice for the last while? Not your job, not your history, not the version of you that other people carry around. Something simpler and older than all of that, which has been in there the whole time, quiet, without ever needing anything from you. Now, a word about the walls, since I raised them. They're not there to keep people out of your heart. That would be a poor way to live, and he'd have had no time for it. He wrote constantly about staying open and useful to people. The walls are only there so there's one room where the noise doesn't reach, somewhere you can put the day down and be plain, unwatched, and entirely off duty. You need a room like that. Everyone does. You have one, always, and nobody can take it or visit it. And notice what the room is actually like, now you're in it. It isn't empty, it isn't cold or echoing. There's nothing bare about it at all. It's more like the quiet of a house where everyone is asleep, warm and settled and slightly dark, with the sense that everything is where it should be. You're not shut away in here. You're just resting somewhere that nothing needs from you. So go in for the night. Feel how the covers around you are a kind of wall, then the walls of the room, then the building, and the dark outside it, and the street with nobody on it, layer after layer, all the way in, to the small warm place where you are. Everything noisy is very far away now. several walls out. Nothing is coming down the corridor. Let each layer settle as you pass it. The street gone quiet, the building still, the room dark and closed, the covers warm around you, and then the last layer, the one you've been inside the whole time, behind your eyes, underneath your thinking, in the part of you that has never been anywhere else. That's as far in as it goes, and it's the softest place you own. There's nothing to hold shut, no door needs your hand on it. The quiet in here doesn't depend on you holding anything off. It's simply what this place is made of. It will still be here in the morning, and every night after that, exactly as it is now. It was here on your worst day. It'll be here on your best one, unchanged. Rest in it. You don't have to do anything to stay here. There's no concentration required, and nothing to maintain. This isn't a state you're producing. It's the room you are always standing in. If your attention drifts out to the street for a moment, it'll come back on its own. It always does. The room doesn't go anywhere while you're not looking. So let go of even the noticing now. Let the walls hold, and the dark stay dark, and your body carry on softening without any help from you. Nothing can reach you in here. Sleep as deeply as you like. There's an idea that runs underneath everything else in the notebook, and we should say it plainly before the night goes further. He didn't think of himself as a person standing in the world, looking at it. He thought of himself as a piece of it, the way a hand is a piece of a body, or a wave is a piece of the sea, not a visitor, not an audience, part of the thing. And this wasn't poetry to him. It was the plainest fact he knew. There's a moment in the notebook where he simply turns and speaks to nature directly. Everything comes from you, he says. Everything is in you. Everything returns to you. It reads almost like a prayer, though he wasn't praying to anything. He was just stating where he thought he stood, inside it, not beside it. There's a great deal of rest in that, once it settles. Look at what you're made of. Water, mostly. That was somewhere else last week. Air moving between you and this room, constantly, without any arrangement. Warmth that came from food, that came from soil, that came from rain. You're not separate from any of it. You're a shape it's making at the moment. The air in your lungs right now was in the room a second ago, and outside the window a few hours before that. You're giving it back as you listen. It isn't really yours. You're just borrowing it, breath by breath, and handing it on. The same is true of everything else you're made of. Nothing about you was manufactured separately. It was all here already, and it will all be here after, and for now it's arranged into you. Now think about the rhythms you run on. You didn't decide on your heartbeat. Nobody taught you to breathe. Your temperature rises and falls across the day on a schedule you've never once consulted. These are the same rhythms as everything else. Tides going out and coming back, light arriving and leaving, seasons turning over without being asked. You're not operating any of it. It's happening in you, the way it happens everywhere else. Sleep is one of those rhythms. That's worth sitting with tonight, because it changes what sleep is. It isn't a task you have to complete. It isn't something you produce with the right conditions and enough effort. It's a tide. It comes in every night, all over the world, in every living thing, whether anyone attends to it or not, which means you're not trying to fall asleep. You're waiting for a tide that's already turning. And a tide doesn't need encouragement. It doesn't come in faster if you stand at the edge wanting it. It arrives on its own schedule, which was set a very long time ago, and it has always kept it. Yours is coming in now. You can feel the edges of it already. the heaviness, the slight blur, the way thoughts are getting further apart. Look at what else is settling right now, alongside you. The trees near your house have slowed down for the night. Whatever is going on in a tree at 3 in the afternoon is not going on now. Birds have gone quiet in the hedges. Animals are lying still in places you'll never see. The ground itself is cooling and giving back its heat, exactly as it does every night. Water is lying flat somewhere. Nothing is being decided anywhere in the natural world at this hour. You're joining something very large and very old. It started long before people, and it has carried on every single night since. There's no version of tonight where the world stays awake. It always settles. It has never had an off night in all its history. And notice this, because it's the gentlest part. Nothing out there is trying to rest. The tree isn't concentrating. The water gives no thought at all to whether it's settling properly. No animal has ever lain down and wondered if it's doing the night correctly. They simply do what living things do when the light goes, and so do you, the same way, by the same means, on the same schedule. You've been doing it your whole life without instructions. So has every one of your ancestors, going back further than anyone can count. Think of that line of people for a moment, all of them lying down at the end of their days, in caves and huts and rooms and tents, under whatever they had. Every single one of them slept. Not one of them had to be taught. It came with the body, the way it came with yours. You're the current end of a very long line of people who knew how to do this. You belong here. That's the whole of it. Not fitting in, not earning a place, belonging, in the way a wave belongs to water, not as a member of something, but as a piece of it that briefly has a shape, not a guest in the world, doing your best to fit in, a piece of it, made of the same material, running on the same clock, settling at the same hour as everything else. So let the night take its turn in you now. You don't have to arrange it, or help it along, or check on it. It's a tide. Your part is to lie still and let it come in. Feel yourself as one more quiet thing in a very quiet world tonight. The trees, the water, the ground, the animals, and you, all doing the same simple, ancient thing at the same time. Feel your breath moving without any help. Feel the warmth coming off you into the room. Feel the small weight of your body pressing down into the mattress, and the mattress pressing gently back. All of it is the same one thing, doing what it does at night. Nothing is separate. Nothing is left out. Nothing is required. You belong to the night. Let it take its turn in you. Out there, the camp is settling. It happens in the same order every night. First, the voices go. All evening there were people talking between the rows, the ordinary noise of a day ending. One by one, those conversations finish. Somebody laughs at something. Then nothing. Then the busy sounds stop. No more mending. No more moving of things from one place to another. The last few tools are set down on wood and stay there. Then the animals settle. The horses at the lines move about for a while. Then they don't. Then it's just the sound of them breathing, which is barely a sound at all. Then the footsteps, fewer and fewer, further apart, softer each time, until the paths between the tents are empty. And then the lamps. You can see them going out along the rows, one, then a few more, then a whole stretch of dark where 100 people have decided the day is over. The camp gets darker in patches and quieter in layers until there's almost nothing left Each small light going out is somebody lying down, somebody deciding they've done enough. Hundreds of them, across the whole slope of the hill, all coming to the same conclusion within an hour of each other. His went out too, at some point. The last one in the row, probably. Then the notebook was closed and put down, and he lay in the same dark as everyone else. Just the wind moving over the canvas, and somewhere below, the river, going on the way rivers do. Neither of those is a sound you have to listen to. They're the kind that fill a space without asking anything. Wind and water, the two oldest sounds there are. They were here before the camp, and they'll be here long after. That's all that's left awake. Now let the same thing happen where you are. Your own day had sounds in it. All of them have finished now. The voices you heard today are done. Whatever was said, it was said hours ago, and the air has been still since. The doors are shut. Nothing more is being moved from one room to another. Outside, the road has been thinning out for hours. Fewer cars now, further apart, softer each time. The house is doing what houses do at night. Small settling noises, the soft click of something cooling. Let each one you notice take you a little further down. You don't have to keep track. They'll happen whether you follow them or not. Just let the room get quieter around you while you lie here, doing nothing at all. A sound arrives and goes and leaves you lower than it found you. There's nothing to listen for. Nothing needs your attention. The sounds are only there to mark how quiet everything is getting, like markers along a road, showing you how far down you've come. Each one further off than the last, each one mattering a little less. And notice what's underneath them. Not emptiness. It isn't a hollow, echoing kind of quiet. It's the full, soft quiet of a place where everything has been put away properly. A settled quiet. The kind that comes at the end when everything has been seen to. He would have lain in it every night for years. The wind, the river, the canvas, nothing else. No decisions until morning. No one at the tent, just an ordinary tired man, in the dark, listening to water he couldn't see. You have your own version now. Whatever your room's small sounds are, they're the last of them. Let them go out, one at a time, the way the lamps went out along the rows. Something stops. You go down a little, something else stops. You go a little further. The room empties itself of sound, slowly, the way a slope empties itself of lamps. And you go down with it, one small step at a time. Slower now, softer now, lower now, lower. Let your breath match it, not on purpose. Just notice that it's already doing the same thing, arriving further apart, leaving more slowly, going quieter with everything else. Your body is settling in exactly the same order the camp did, the busy parts first, then the small ones, then the last little movements, until there's almost nothing left moving in you at all. Everything that was going to happen today has happened. Everything that was going to be said was said. The last of it is finishing quietly around you. The world has closed up for the night. Nothing further will be asked of anybody until morning. Feel how still the room is around you. Feel the covers holding their warmth. Feel how heavy your body has become while all this was quieting down. You're much further down than you were when the sounds began to stop. Let the last sounds go out, one by one, and go down with them. The lamp has been going a long time now. It's low. You can tell by the light. Earlier in the evening it reached the whole tent, the far corner, the chest beside the wall, the shape of things hanging up. Then it drew in a little. It stopped reaching the corners, then a little more, so it only covered the table and the man sitting at it. Now it's smaller again, a soft circle on the wood, and the pages, and two hands. Everything outside that circle has gone quietly dark. Nothing has left. It's all exactly where it was. The light simply stopped traveling that far. There comes a point where there isn't enough light to write by. He'd have noticed it the way anyone does, leaning in slightly, then leaning in a bit more, then realizing it wasn't the eyes, it was the lamp, and then he'd stop. Sometimes probably in the middle of a thought, with the sentence unfinished, because the light had gone, and it could wait. That's a good way to stop. Not because you're finished, just because it's dark. The same thing has been happening to you all evening. Earlier your attention covered the whole day, everything in it, everyone. Then it drew into the house, then to this room, then to the bed, and the covers, and the shape of your own body beneath them. And now it's smaller still, just the pillow, just the warmth, just the breath going in and out. The circle keeps getting smaller. That's exactly right. That's what going to sleep is. Nothing goes away as it shrinks. Everything is still out there, in the dark, perfectly fine, waiting for morning light to reach it again. You don't need any of it inside the circle tonight. There's a relief in that, once you stop resisting it. All day the circle has to be wide. You have to keep track of things at the edges, people, times, what's coming next. It's a lot of ground to light. At night it can come in. That's allowed. That's the point of night. So let it draw in further. Let the room go. It'll be there. Let the covers go, and the bed, and the edges of things. Let it come down to almost nothing. A small warm circle, with only you in it, small enough to hold easily, small enough to rest inside. That's the whole of your world now, and it's a very manageable size. And now the eyes. They've been closed for a while, but there's usually still a little holding in them. Let that go now. Let the lids be completely heavy. Let them lie there with their full weight, the way the rest of you is lying. Nothing to look at, nothing they need to do, just soft dark behind them. Notice how heavy they've become, heavier than the rest of your face. That heaviness is a good sign. It's usually the last thing to arrive before sleep does. Let it spread out from there, across the cheeks, down the jaw, into the neck. Feel how the darkness isn't empty. It's more like something arriving, filling the room slowly, and the space behind your eyes, and every corner the light used to reach. It's warm, and it's thick, and it's kind. Dark like this has a weight to it. You can almost feel it settling over the covers, and along your arms, and across your face. It doesn't take anything away. It just covers things over, softly, the way snow does, and everything it covers goes quiet. The lamp is very low now, just a small glow on the wood, then less, then the last of it, so faint you'd have to look for it, and then out. The moment it goes, the room doesn't change much. It was mostly dark already. The last of the light was only ever covering a few inches of wood. That's how sleep arrives too, not as a great crossing, just the last small circle quietly closing, and the ears go the same way. Sounds stop reaching as far. What's left comes in softer, and from further off, as though the room itself were moving away. Nothing to see, nothing to reach for, nothing but soft, full dark, all the way around you. The dark is doing everything now, holding the room, holding the bed, holding you. There's nothing left for the light to show you tonight. Everything worth seeing has been seen. You can let the last of it go, the way he did, mid-thought, unfinished, perfectly content to leave it there until morning. Let the light go small, and the dark come in. The lamp has been going a long time now. It's low. You can tell by the light. Earlier in the evening it reached the whole tent, the far corner, the chest beside the wall, the shape of things hanging up. Then it drew in a little. It stopped reaching the corners, then a little more, so it only covered the table and the man sitting at it. Now it's smaller again, a soft circle on the wood, and the pages, and two hands. Everything outside that circle has gone quietly dark. Nothing has left. It's all exactly where it was. The light simply stopped traveling that far. There comes a point where there isn't enough light to write by. He'd have noticed it the way anyone does, leaning in slightly, then leaning in a bit more, then realizing it wasn't the eyes, it was the lamp, and then he'd stop. Sometimes probably in the middle of a thought, with the sentence unfinished, because the light had gone, and it could wait. That's a good way to stop. Not because you're finished, just because it's dark. The same thing has been happening to you all evening. Earlier your attention covered the whole day, everything in it, everyone. Then it drew into the house, then to this room, then to the bed, and the covers, and the shape of your own body beneath them. And now it's smaller still, just the pillow, just the warmth, just the breath going in and out. The circle keeps getting smaller. That's exactly right. That's what going to sleep is. Nothing goes away as it shrinks. Everything is still out there, in the dark, perfectly fine, waiting for morning light to reach it again. You don't need any of it inside the circle tonight. There's a relief in that, once you stop resisting it. All day the circle has to be wide. You have to keep track of things at the edges, people, times, what's coming next. It's a lot of ground to light. At night it can come in. That's allowed. That's the point of night. So let it draw in further. Let the room go. It'll be there. Let the covers go, and the bed, and the edges of things. Let it come down to almost nothing. A small warm circle, with only you in it, small enough to hold easily, small enough to rest inside. That's the whole of your world now, and it's a very manageable size. And now the eyes. They've been closed for a while, but there's usually still a little holding in them. Let that go now. Let the lids be completely heavy. Let them lie there with their full weight, the way the rest of you is lying. Nothing to look at, nothing they need to do, just soft dark behind them. Notice how heavy they've become, heavier than the rest of your face. That heaviness is a good sign. It's usually the last thing to arrive before sleep does. Let it spread out from there, across the cheeks, down the jaw, into the neck. Feel how the darkness isn't empty. It's more like something arriving, filling the room slowly, and the space behind your eyes, and every corner the light used to reach. It's warm, and it's thick, and it's kind. Dark like this has a weight to it. You can almost feel it settling over the covers, and along your arms, and across your face. It doesn't take anything away. It just covers things over, softly, the way snow does, and everything it covers goes quiet. The lamp is very low now, just a small glow on the wood, then less, then the last of it, so faint you'd have to look for it, and then out. The moment it goes, the room doesn't change much. It was mostly dark already. The last of the light was only ever covering a few inches of wood. That's how sleep arrives too, not as a great crossing, just the last small circle quietly closing, and the ears go the same way. Sounds stop reaching as far. What's left comes in softer, and from further off, as though the room itself were moving away. Nothing to see, nothing to reach for, nothing but soft, full dark, all the way around you. The dark is doing everything now, holding the room, holding the bed, holding you. There's nothing left for the light to show you tonight. Everything worth seeing has been seen. You can let the last of it go, the way he did, mid-thought, unfinished, perfectly content to leave it there until morning. Let the light go small, and the dark come in. Above that camp, there was a sky. There was nothing else to look at night in that century. No lit windows, no glow on the horizon from a town, just dark ground, and then an enormous amount of sky. So he looked up. Everyone did. It was the ceiling of the world. Here is the quiet thing about that. They were the same stars. The ones over your roof tonight are the ones that were over his tent. The same points of light, in the same patterns. Nothing has shifted in a way that any human eye could notice. 1800 years, and the sky hasn't changed its mind about anything. Think about what has changed in that time. The language he spoke, the empire he ran, every road, every city, every way of living, every single person alive then, all of it gone, or turned into something unrecognizable. The sky, exactly as it was, the one thing anybody from then would still recognize instantly. Some of the light arriving tonight has been traveling for a very long time. It set out before there was anyone here to see it. It's been coming steadily the whole while, through all of it, and it happens to land tonight. That's a slow, patient kind of light. Nothing about it is in a hurry. Now think about who else has lain beneath it. Farmers, waiting for weather. Sailors, using it to find their way home. Mothers, at windows with children who wouldn't settle. Shepherds, travelers, everyone who has ever lain outside on a warm night and gone quiet. And a tired emperor, at the edge of a dark river, at the end of a long day, lying on his back and letting his eyes go up. All of them looking at exactly what's above your roof right now. And you, at some point, as a child, lying on grass somewhere, or on a bench, or on the roof of a car, with your head tipped back and your mouth slightly open. You've done this before, long before you had anything to lie awake about. There's a comfort in that I find difficult to name. Everything you're carrying tonight has been carried beneath these before. Every version of it. The unfinished conversation, the thing you can't fix, the tiredness that goes deeper than sleep usually reaches. Somebody has lain beneath these stars with each of those, in every century, in every country. The stars simply went on shining, without any comment at all. There's nothing hollow in that. It's gentler than it sounds. They're simply very old, and very steady, and they keep their own calm through everything that happens underneath them, which somehow makes those things easier to hold loosely. So let your mind go up there for a moment, out through the ceiling, past the roof, into that enormous, dark, quiet space with the old light coming through it. Nothing up there needs anything. Nothing is being decided. It's the most restful place there is, and it will all go on quietly through the night, whether anyone is looking or not. The same slow turning, the same old light arriving, the same patterns overhead, holding their shape above your sleeping street, exactly as they did above his tent. You can let your eyes stay closed. You don't need to see it to be underneath it. Feel yourself lying here, at the bottom of all that dark, safe indoors, with the covers over you, held down gently by your own weight, covered by a very old sky, layers of it above you, the blanket, the ceiling, the roof, the air over the roof, and then all that dark going up further than anyone can picture, full of slow light. Everything above you is calm, everything below you is solid, and you're in the small warm space in between. He slept beneath it. So did everyone before him, and everyone since. Now it's your turn. Nothing is required of you but to lie here while the sky does what it has always done. It'll turn slowly over the house all night. Nobody has to keep it going. It will be a little further along when you wake, and that's the only sign you'll have that any time passed at all. The same stars, the same quiet. Rest now, as they all did. He was never off duty. That's the thing about his life that stays with me. Not the campaigns, not the long years away, just that there was never an hour, anywhere, when he got to be nobody in particular. Even in the tent, even at the end of the day, with the flap closed and everyone else asleep, he was still the emperor. If something happened at 2 in the morning, they'd come and wake him, and he'd have to be him again straight away. There's no retirement from that. No evening where the empire says, "Take tonight off, we'll manage." For 19 years, every single night, he went to sleep as the man everything came back to. He never once got what you have right now, because right now, nobody needs you to be anything. Think about how rare that is. All day you were somebody, somebody's parent, or somebody's colleague, or the one who knows where things are, or the one who stays calm, or the one who gets it done. Every one of those takes a little holding, not dishonestly. It's just a shape you keep for other people, because they need you to keep it. And they're tiring in a way that doesn't look like tiredness. You can sit down all day and still come home worn through, simply from having been someone the whole time. You've put all of them down for the night. Nobody needs you to be capable now. Nobody needs you to be patient, or organized, or reasonable, or the one who has it handled. Nobody needs you to remember anything. Nobody needs you to decide. Nobody needs you to listen properly, or say the right thing, or hold your face steady while somebody tells you something difficult. Nobody is going to ask you a question before morning. Nothing will come and require an opinion from you. You don't even have to be pleasant. There's no one here to be pleasant to. You don't have to be interesting. You don't have to get anything done. You don't have to be a good sleeper. You don't have to be anything at all. Feel what that does when it actually lands. The face can stop being a face. The voice isn't needed. All the small adjustments you make for other people, hundreds a day, without noticing, none of them are running. Notice how the body changes when nobody is present. It stops arranging itself. It stops sitting up straight, or looking attentive, or being ready to move. It just lies there, in whatever shape it landed in, entirely unobserved. You're just a warm body in a bed, in the dark, breathing. That's the whole of it. That's your entire role until morning. And you're already doing it perfectly, without doing a single thing. There's nothing to be good at here. That's what makes it restful. Sleep is the one thing in a life that comes more easily the more you give up. Everything else asks you to try. This one asks you to stop, which means you can be as unaccomplished as you like tonight. It's the correct approach. Everywhere else there's some standard, something to manage, some way of doing it better. Here there is nothing to get right, and no one to notice either way. If you sleep, that's fine. If you lie here awake and warm, that's fine too. Nobody is keeping track, and nobody ever was. So let the last of it go. The last bit of being someone. Let your face be blank. Let your hands stay wherever they've fallen. Let your mouth be slightly open if that's what it wants. Nobody is here. Nobody is coming. The door is shut. The house is quiet. The whole evening has closed itself around you and gone still. There is no next thing. There is only this room until morning, just this quiet room, and the dark, and a person who has finished for the day. He never had this, not for 1 hour of 19 years. You have it every single night, and it's yours until the light comes. Nobody needs you to be anything tonight. Just be here. Almost everything in you has stopped now. The hands aren't moving. The legs haven't shifted in a while. The face has given up its shape. Even the eyes have gone still behind their lids. One thing is still going. The breath. Notice, if you can, that it isn't only air moving. It moves you. Every time the breath comes in, something rises. The chest, slightly. The belly, more. The shoulders, barely at all. The belly is the one to notice. When a body is truly finished for the day, that's where the breathing moves to. Low and slow and easy, with the chest hardly doing anything. If yours is doing that already, you're further along than you think, and every time it leaves, all of that lowers again, up a little, down a little, over and over. You are being rocked, not by anything outside you, from the inside, by the simplest thing you do. It's a very small motion. You could easily lie here your whole life and never notice it. But it's been going since your very first hour, without a single pause. Here's the part worth resting on. You're not the one doing it. You didn't start this breath. You won't decide the next one. It arrives and leaves and arrives again, whether you attend to it or not. Which means you can lie completely still and be moved anyway, gently, continuously, all night. That's a rare thing to be given, motion without any part in it. Everything else that ever moved you took something from you, walking, driving, getting up when you didn't want to. This one asks nothing. It moves you while you lie completely idle, and it will go on doing it for as long as you're here. So let it move you now. Feel the small lift as the breath comes in. Feel the longer settling as it goes, and let each one take you down a little, up and down, a bit lower than before, up and down again, lower still. The lift never quite returns you to where you were. Every out-breath leaves you slightly deeper in the bed. You're being lowered, one breath at a time, by something that has never needed instructions, like something settling gently onto the bottom of still water, not falling, just arriving, slowly, exactly where it was always going to arrive. It's slowing now. You may have noticed, longer between them, softer at the edges, less and less happening in the chest. That's the body doing what it does at this hour. Nothing to encourage, nothing to help along. Let it get as slow as it wants, and notice the small pause at the end of each one, right at the bottom of the out-breath, before the next one begins. There's a moment when nothing at all is happening, very short, completely still, no movement anywhere in you. That pause gets a little longer as the night goes on. It's one of the quiet signs that sleep is close. You don't have to hold it or make it longer. Just notice it's there, and let it be as long as it likes. There's a rhythm to it that you can rest inside, The way you'd rest in something swaying very slightly, not enough to move you anywhere, just enough to know you're being held by something steady. In, out, down, in, out, down. Slower each time, smaller each time, further each time. Nothing else is required of you tonight, not even this. It happens whether you're present for it or not. You can let go of noticing now. You've followed it long enough. It doesn't need company. Let your attention slide off it, the way a hand slides off the arm of a chair when someone falls asleep sitting up. Let the breath carry on rocking you while your attention loosens and drifts and stops keeping up. That's what happens next. The breath goes on. You drift away from it, softly, into sleep. Let it rock you. You don't have to do a thing. Notice where your thoughts happen. They're up near the surface, and they're made of words. That's what thinking is, most of the time. Sentences, quiet talking, inside your own head, in your own voice. All evening it's been going. Explaining things, answering things, saying the same few sentences over. But there's a level below that. Underneath the words, there's a place where nothing is said. Things are simply felt. Weight, warmth, the shape of the bed, the dark. No language at all down there. Nothing needs describing, because there's nobody to describe it to. You know this level. You've been in it every night of your life. It's where you spend most of the hours between now and morning. He'd have crossed this line every night in the tent. The notebook only exists above it, up where the words are. Everything he wrote was written on the talking level, by a man still forming sentences. Then the light went out, and the sentences stopped, and he sank below them like everybody else. Whatever he was down there, no notebook has it. You're very close to that line now. You can usually tell when you're near it, if you know what to notice. Thoughts start arriving unfinished. A sentence begins, and then doesn't bother ending. Something appears that isn't words at all. A picture, a face, a room you haven't thought about in years, turning up for no reason. That's not your mind wandering off. That's the doorway. It means the words are letting go, and the deeper part is coming up to meet you. So when a sentence starts coming loose tonight, let it come loose. Don't gather it back together. Don't finish it. Don't go looking for what it was going to say. Just let it trail away, half-made, and sink a little further. These are the soft, drifting few minutes just before sleep. Half-pictures, fragments of somewhere, a word with no sentence around it. Everyone passes through this every single night, and almost nobody remembers it in the morning. And if an image comes instead, let that come. It doesn't have to mean anything. Down here nothing means anything, and that's the whole comfort of it. There's nothing to understand at this depth, nothing to follow, nothing to keep hold of. Feel how much lighter that is. All day, everything had to be understood, read, answered, sorted out. Every sound had to be identified. Every message had to be replied to in your head, even the ones you never sent. None of that reaches down here. No language means no explaining. No explaining means nothing to get right. It's the only place in a day where you're not putting things into words for somebody, including yourself. Down here, it's just weight, and warmth, and dark, and slow breathing. You've been going down toward this the whole night. This is where we were headed, so let the last few words go loose. Let the sentences get further apart. Let them come in half-made and drift off unfinished. Let the whole talking part of you settle and go quiet, the way the rest of your body already has. There's nothing left up there that needs saying. Everything below is soft and wordless and waiting for you. Slower now, quieter now, less of it in words each time. Let yourself slip beneath the talking, into the part of the night where nothing has a name. Nobody has ever caught the exact moment they crossed. You won't either. You'll simply be on the other side, and it will already have happened. Let the sentences trail off. There's nothing to understand down here. From here you don't need to listen anymore. The words have done what they came to do. Whatever was useful in them has already gone in, or it hasn't, and either way it's finished. What's left isn't information, it's just company. That's all this is now. Somebody in the room, still talking quietly, so the dark isn't completely silent while you go. He didn't have that, you know. In the tent, at the end of everything, there was nobody to sit with him, nobody to say anything ordinary while the lamp went down. That's partly what the notebook was, a way of having somebody to talk to when the somebody had to be himself. He wrote so that there would be someone to say it to. You don't have to do that tonight. There's a voice in the room already, and it doesn't need anything back from you. There's an old comfort in that, and it starts early. Most people can remember it, being small, in bed, hearing grown-ups talking somewhere in the house. You couldn't tell what about. It didn't matter. It only meant somebody was up, and everything was in order, and you could let go of the whole evening. That's what this is, nothing more complicated, so let it become part of the background now, not something you follow, something that's simply there, the way voices carry softly from another part of a house, and you don't hear the words at all, only that somebody's up. Let the meaning wash out of it, let it turn into tone. Nothing being said needs an answer, nothing is a question. There's nothing here you'll be asked about in the morning. You don't have to remember any of it either, not one line. If the whole night goes by and you keep nothing at all, that's exactly as it should be. Let it go soft at the edges. The shapes of the words matter less now. The rhythm is enough. The rise and fall of somebody speaking gently, which is one of the oldest settling sounds there is. Softer, further off, less like words and more like a sound the room is making. You may notice you've stopped taking anything in. A sentence goes by and leaves nothing behind. Then another. Let that keep happening. Nothing is being missed. It's the last thread loosening. Whatever is being said from here is not for keeping. It's only here to fill the quiet gently and then be gone. And if you drift away in the middle of a sentence, that's exactly right. The voice will carry on without you. It doesn't mind at all. It's not going to stop and ask where you went. That's the arrangement here. It talks, you go, no parting words, no stopping point, just a voice going quietly on in a dark room, and you, slowly no longer here to hear it. You don't have to see it out. You don't have to hear the end. Nobody has ever needed to hear the end of one of these. So let go of the last of the listening now. Let the sound go on somewhere near you, warm and low, while everything else in you keeps sinking. It'll be here again another evening, saying much the same things whenever you'd like it. Nothing has to be finished tonight. Nothing has to be got through. Come back to it as often as you want, the way you'd come back to a room you know, just as it was for him. The same few reminders come back to, over and over, on whatever night needed them. There's nothing left in the night that needs your attention. Not the words, not the room, not even the going. You've heard enough for tonight. Stop listening now. Let the voice just keep you company. Everything in this room has stopped. Think about it for a moment. Nothing in here is moving at all. The door is shut and staying shut. The walls are exactly where they were this morning. Whatever is on the table hasn't shifted an inch since you put it down. Even the air has gone still. No draft. Nothing stirring the curtain. The whole room holding its shape, easily, the way rooms do. If you could see it from above, nothing would appear to be happening at all. A dark rectangle, some furniture, a person lying quietly beneath a blanket. Nothing in this room has anywhere to be tonight. There's something restful about that, if you let yourself feel it. Objects are very good at this, better than we are. A chair has never once needed settling. A door has never lain awake going over the afternoon. They simply stay where they are, in the dark, for hours, and it costs them nothing. And the room has done this every night since it was built, whether anyone was in it or not. The same quiet, the same stillness, the same patient waiting for morning. It knows exactly how to be a room at night. It's had a great deal of practice, hundreds of nights, thousands perhaps, before you ever came here. Long dark hours of nothing happening, over and over. And it has never minded once, and everything in here is keeping you company while it does. The chair, the door, the things on the shelf, all of them settled in for the night alongside you, doing exactly the same thing. You're in good company. Nothing in this room is going anywhere, so let your own stillness join it. You're the last thing in here, still moving, and even that is only breathing. Everything else about you has already matched the room. The hands, still. The legs, still. The face, still. You're becoming part of the furniture, in the nicest possible way. Notice how the stillness outside you and the stillness inside you are the same stillness now. There isn't a line between them anymore. The room is quiet. You're quiet. It's all one quiet. Where you end and the room begins is blurring now. The edges have gone soft in the dark, the way they do at this hour. Nothing in here needs anything. Not the walls, not the covers, not you. And it's the same just beyond the door. The hallway is dark and empty. The rooms past it are still. Whatever is outside the window has stopped for the night as well. The street, the gardens, the parked cars with dew coming onto them. Stillness for miles in every direction. In ordinary houses, in ordinary rooms, exactly like this one. You're in the middle of a very large, very quiet thing. Let the last of your movement settle out. There's no reason to shift, or turn over, or adjust anything. Wherever you are is where you'll be. Let the body stay exactly as it landed, heavy, warm, and finished with moving for the day. And let the room hold its stillness around you all night, the way it always does. It'll keep the quiet for you. It'll keep the dark for you. It'll keep everything exactly as it is until the light comes back. You'll wake in it, and everything will be exactly where it is now, and none of it will have moved an inch. Be as still as the room. It's been waiting to show you how. You've stopped keeping track of how long you've been lying here. That's worth noticing, gently, because it's a good sign. Was that 10 minutes ago, or 40? The last thing you remember clearly, how far back was it? There's no way to tell from in here. The night has stopped having a length. That happens every time. It's one of the last things to go, because time isn't really out there in the room. It's something the mind keeps up by paying attention and counting and holding one moment beside another. And the part of you that does the counting has gone off duty, so the measuring has stopped. There's just this going on softly, with no edges on it. He'd have known this particular loosening too. There were no clocks in that tent, nothing ticking, nothing to look at that would have told him the hour, just dark, and the wind, and however long it happened to be until someone came. People slept without knowing the time for almost all of human history. It's the ordinary way. The measuring is the new part. So you can put it down quite safely. It isn't something you need tonight. Safely. Let that be a relief rather than anything else. You don't have to know what time it is. It won't help. Nothing about the next few hours requires you to keep track of them. The night will get itself to morning without any assistance. It always has. It has never once needed somebody in it, keeping an eye on how far along it is. So let the hours run on without you. They'll go by whether you follow them or not, and you don't have to be present for a single one. That's the whole comfort of sleep, really. It's the one long stretch where things carry on, and you're excused. Excused. Nothing will be decided while you're away. Nothing will need you before the light. The world will simply keep turning quietly over, the way it did last night, and the night before, and every night you've ever slept through without noticing. Feel how there's no distance now either, not to anywhere. You're not going somewhere and waiting to arrive. There's no place you're heading and no gap left to cross, just drifting in a warm dark with nothing to reach and no arrival to wait for. That's a rare kind of moving. Everything else in a life goes towards something. This goes nowhere, pleasantly, for hours. You could stay in it all night and have done exactly what you came here to do. No length to it, no direction, no pace to keep. Nothing is being measured anywhere. Not the hours, not how deep you've gone, not how well any of this is going. The measuring stopped a while ago, and nothing has missed it, and you're much further along than you feel. That's always true at this point. Further. Some part of you has already begun. Thoughts have been arriving further apart for a while now. The gaps between them have been getting wider and softer and easier to stay in. Those gaps are where you're going. They're not empty. There's something quite pleasant in them, warm and wide and without any shape. A thought ends, and instead of the next one there's just soft, open space. You've slipped into a few of them already tonight, probably without registering it. Let yourself stay in the next one a little longer, and the one after that, longer still, until the gaps are most of it, and the thoughts are only occasional visitors that don't stay. And soon there'll be more gap than thought, then only gap. There's nothing left to do but drift. Drift, no time to keep, no distance to cover, no one waiting for you at any point tonight. The dark is warm, and it goes on in every direction, and you're somewhere in the middle of it, moving very slowly and beautifully nowhere at all. Let the hours go by without you. You don't have to be there for them. We began tonight with a notebook, and we'll finish there. Every evening, at some point, he closed it. Whatever he'd been turning over went back into the dark with the pages. Some of it half said, some of it not resolved at all. A thought started and left sitting there, because the light was low and the day was over. He didn't tidy it up first. He just stopped and closed it and lay down. You can almost hear it. The small sound of pages coming together, the book set down on the wood. Then the sound of a man lying back and letting out one long breath at the end of a very long day. That sound has happened in every century since, in every language, in every kind of room. It's happening now, in this one. And here's the thing about that notebook, which took me a long time to notice. It has no last chapter, 12 books, and no conclusion at the back. No summing up, no final page where everything he learned gets gathered into one neat piece of advice. It simply stops. The last entries are much like the first ones. A tired man reminding himself of a few plain things on an ordinary evening, with no idea anyone would ever read it. Nothing was completed, and it's the most useful book of its kind ever written. So let tonight be like that. Nothing has to be concluded before you sleep. You don't need a final thought. You don't need to reach any decision, or finish the thing you were turning over, or arrive at some settled place before you're allowed to go. You can stop exactly where you are, mid-sentence, half said, perfectly unresolved. That's how every night goes, for everyone. Nobody ever finishes, they just stop. Nobody has ever fallen asleep having sorted everything out. Not once, anywhere, in all of history. Every person who has ever slept went off with something still open, and every one of them woke up fine, and carried on, and most of the open things quietly closed themselves in the following weeks without any help at all. There's something I find quietly moving about that, at the end of a night like this. He wrote all of it for himself, not for us. He'd be astonished to know it lasted, and probably a little embarrassed. And somehow it came all this way, through everything, to a dark room where somebody tired needed to hear that it was all right to stop. So close the book now. Whatever the day left open, let it stay open until morning. It'll keep. It always keeps. The pages will be there. Everything stays exactly where you left it. And now there's nothing left in this at all. No more words, nothing to consider, nothing being asked of you, or offered, or explained. Just the warm dark, and the weight of you in it, and the slow breathing that's been going on quietly beneath all of this the whole time. That breathing will carry on all night. It'll take you the rest of the way and set you down gently on the other side of the dark, in the morning, without you ever noticing the distance. You don't have to help with any of it. Feel how far down you've come since we began. The talking has stopped. The planning has stopped. The turning over of things has stopped. The body stopped a long while back. Even the part that was following along has gone quiet. Everything set aside. Everything softened. Everything handed over. There's nowhere further to get to. This is it. This is the place we were going. So stay here now. Nothing more will be asked tonight. Not by me, not by anyone. The last of the words are going now, and after them there's only quiet. Let the last of your attention go loose, and stop holding anything at all. Let the room fade. Let the voice fade. Let the day finish going, without you needing to see it out. You've done everything today that needed doing. The rest of it can wait. Warm, heavy, quiet, held by a bed, in a still room, beneath a very old sky. Let tonight stop right where it is. Just sleep. And so we come to the quiet end of the night. Whatever you heard tonight, carry it lightly. Hold it with both hands open. You don't have to keep it, or use it, or even remember it. It will be here again, waiting gently, on another evening. And so will I. May the weight of the day be set down now, and stay down until morning. May the things you cannot change grow softer in the dark. May your kind, tired mind, the one that has carried so much and tried so hard, Find that it is finally allowed to rest. There is nothing left to do tonight, nothing to solve, nothing to carry. You have done enough. You are enough. You can let it all go now. Just breathe and soften and sleep as deeply and as long as you need to. Sleep well, friend, and thank you truly for spending this night here at Restful Minds.